It is a beautiful sunny day, but it is really cold outside. So I think I'm going to just piddle around here around the house. I thought I'd bring y'all with me and see what we can get done this morning. I am going to fix tea this morning. So I'm going to get the teapot turned on. And I wanted to share with you what my sweet friend Sharon brought to me yesterday. I had a day with a friend. We got to go eat lunch and do some shopping. But she brought me these gifts. She brought me this delicious traditional English tea in this beautiful tin, a fine breakfast tea, and she brought me this little Peter Rabbit tea. Isn't that beautiful? It's an English afternoon tea. So I've got a morning tea, a fine breakfast tea, and then I've got an English afternoon tea. And black tea is my favorite, and nobody does tea like the English. Well, I got this beautiful cup too. She brought me this. She had bought herself one and bought me one, thinking of spring coming up, and I thought it was adorable. So I was so happy to get that little gift, and I thought that was so sweet that she thought about me, and we had a really good day. We got to get out and just relax and take a whole day and enjoy ourselves shopping, having some good food, and some good fellowship, which is so important. It's just so important to get out and do those things. Well, I'm going to enjoy this fine this traditional English breakfast tea for breakfast this morning, so that'll be what I'm choosing. I also picked up these teas from TJ Maxx. I think one might have been from Home Goods. I believe this one right here, the pomegranate Acia tea, and the Taylor Sweet Sour was from Home Goods. Those look delicious. I'm going to add those to my tea cabinet. And here is sweet rhubarb, fruit-flavored infusion, Taylor's tea. I thought that was great. You know, I love Taylor's tea, one of my favorites. I also picked up this dandelion tea. I have plenty of dandelions out in the yard. I pick them and dry them, and I use them, but I never have quite enough. So I went ahead and picked up these little dandelion teas, and this was a real treat. This tea, there's 4 different flavors of tea in this big tin. There's blueberry, pineapple, strawberry, and lemon. So I've got this big thing of tea. There's 4 separate types of tea in these bags, and it tells you which one is which on the bag when you open it. And these are tea bags, so I was happy to find that. It is just a day before spring. Tomorrow is the first official day of spring. And it's still a little chilly, which is not uncommon around here. So this cup of tea, I went outside and uncovered the tulips. Me and Donald had covered them up before he left so that those tulips would not be frostbitten and frozen and be done for the season. We wanted to enjoy them as long as we could. So we went out there and covered them up. And then, of course, he's at work. So when I went out there to uncover them, it's just really chilly this morning. It's a cold morning. So a cup of tea will be refreshing and warm and delicious and comforting this morning. So I'm looking forward to this morning's tea. I'm going to add a little bit of honey. Now, a perfect cup of tea is usually timed at about 4 minutes. So I'm going to time it this morning. And see if I can get a perfect cup of tea this morning. I drink it often without timing it. I just drink it, and I often let my tea go steep for as long as 10 to 15 minutes. So it doesn't have to be a perfect 4-minute cup of tea for me. I'll just go for it anyway. It gets a little bitter the longer you let it brew, but that's steep. But that's okay because I love tea, and it doesn't matter to me if it steeps a little bit too long. It just gives it more flavor to me. I'm going to use a little bit of honey. This is the honey I've got opened up. It's the honey that I got from Sam's. You know, it's a pure honey. It's U.S. grade, a product of USA, Canada, and Argentina. Now, I know this is not raw honey, and that's okay, but I want to use up, since I've got this opened, I'll be using this honey up before I open any other honey. While my tea is steeping, that's my oven. I'm preheating my oven. So it's letting me know that it's heated. But while my tea steeps, I'm going to get ready and do a few things around here this morning. I want to try to figure out a Appalachian comfort food when it gets real cold. My first thought is soup. I'll either make a vegetable soup today or a chicken noodle soup. Something delicious and comforting. My tea's steeped, so it's been 4 minutes. So I can go ahead and enjoy the perfect cup of tea. And I'll go ahead and plan the soup today. I've got to get ready to get my bread, sourdough bread, mixed up so it can be rising, and I won't be able to bake that today, but I'll go ahead and get it made so I can bake it here. It'll probably be tomorrow before that's risen enough for me to bake it, but I've got that in the plans. It'll be a good day to get everything going and get a good pot of soup going and get some warm things going, knock the chill off. It got down below freezing. It's the day before spring, and we had a turn of events, just a cold snap, and I had to cover up, me and Donald covered up this tulip so that they wouldn't freeze with a sheet. We just covered them up. I'm going to uncover them this morning. Try not to break them. They closed back up. You can see. We're trying to save them for the spring so that they'll stay beautiful. But they look good. They didn't freeze. I have one more pumpkin left from last year. I'm going to go ahead and wash this pumpkin up. I'm going to spray some vegetable wash on it. Of course, you can wash it in mild soap, whatever you want to do. But I'm just going to wash it down, put it in a pan, and go ahead and get this pumpkin cooked up. It's my last pumpkin from last year. It lasted a really good time, a long time. Rinse it off real good. And I'm going to put it in this big pan I've got right over here. And I'm going to bake this pumpkin. I'm going to bake it on 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about maybe 2 hours for this size of a pumpkin. Then I'll test it and see if it's done. And then I'll probably just scrape it out, puree it, and put it in the freezer. Got it in the oven. Got it ready to go. We'll set the timer for 2 hours. It's a good day to do this because it's chilly outside. It got down to freezing last night, so it's cold this morning, and it'll be a good day to cook this pumpkin and let this stove cook for 2 hours. It'll help heat up the house. I have decided to make vegetable soup this morning. That's something that I love. It was a toss-up between vegetable soup, chicken noodle soup, or chili beans this morning. And so the vegetable soup's going to win. And you know, I always start out my vegetable soup with putting some fat down in the bottom of here, in the bottom of my pot, my soup pot, and chopping up an onion and getting that onion cooked to clear before I add any other ingredients. If you've watched my channel, you have probably saw me make soup quite a bit. It's a staple around here. I love it. I even love soup, even when in the hot months, whenever it gets hot. Doesn't bother me one bit. I love to eat soup. It's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite things to eat. And I have had well, Appalachian term is hankering. I've had a hankering, which means you have a craving for something. And I've had a craving for vegetable soup. So that's what I'm going to make this morning, even though I could make chili beans or chicken noodle. I'm going to make vegetable. I want the variety of those vegetables this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done and cook this pumpkin for 2 hours. And then I'll puree that. And then I'll move on to all the next chores that I've got to do today. I have my onions. I cooked them to kind of clear. And then I added frozen celery. And so now I'm just cooking that a little bit together. And then I'm over here cutting up the carrots. And I'm just slicing them. The great thing about making your own soup is you can customize your vegetables to the way you like to eat them. I don't like them chopped up in tiny diced pieces as much as I do just slicing them like this. I like to find good, generous sized carrots in my soup. Now, I have family members that prefer everything to be diced really small. And if you do prefer that, well, that's great. You can customize your vegetables that you add to your soup. You can make them any size you want. You can put what you like best in it, and you can put as much as you want to. I've got quite a few carrots here. I need to use them up, and so this soup will have quite a bit of carrots as well as other vegetables in it. But I enjoy just having things kind of chunky. I'm more of a chunky soup kind of person. And I get to make it the way I want it today, and I love that. That's a real treat. I'm sure if you watch my channel, then you know when I make my homemade soups that I use what I have on hand. I got all of the carrots cut up here. I'm going to add those after I get some liquid in there. I've got some canned food I want to go ahead and use up. So I'll be adding these in my soup today. And then I've got a bit of meat here that I'll chop up into small pieces just to make the meat flavor go further in the soup. Then I have a little bit of carrots that were frozen. If you watch my channel, I've shared before, an excellent way to make soup is to freeze all your little bits of leftovers, even if it's just about a cup or less. You know, if you just have a tiny bit of leftovers, put them in a freezer bag and freeze those. And then when it comes time to make homemade soup, you can pull those out and add them to your homemade soups. It's a good way not to waste your groceries, not to waste your money, and to make something delicious out of them. Now I've got these green beans here. I've got 2 cans of green beans. One's from Food Line and one's from Great Value from Walmart. And I've got some Food Line tomato sauce and some corn. I'll be adding these carrots, and I'll peel a few potatoes to add. And I think I got some frozen peas in a different freezer. I'll go down there and look for those frozen peas, and I'll be adding that. Now, I've seen people drain the liquid out of their canned food before they add it to their soup, and I don't know why they're doing that. Soup is comprised of a lot of liquid. These vegetables have been sitting in this juice in this can, and it has a lot of nutrients that's seeped from the corn and from the beans and whatever you're using into the can and into those juices. So I just always put my juice right down in there in the can, and that becomes part of my liquid, and it adds flavor. I've never really understood the concept behind draining your juice from your vegetables that has nutrients in it from your vegetables soaking in there. If you've got a comment on that, you'd like to comment on why people drain those vegetables, then just let me know. I mean, who decided, oh, this corn is perfectly good to eat, but I don't want to eat the juice around it. I mean, it doesn't detract from your soup one bit. If the green beans are edible, then the liquid is edible. And you can always season and flavor this soup any way that you would like. It's not like it adds an undesirable flavor. So this is the beginning of our soup. We're going to let this cook for just a little bit. I will add the carrots on in here. Let them start cooking. Cut up the other ingredients that need to go in and start cooking it from here. Liquid will add flavor. You could add water, but why not add flavor? If you've got that liquid that's already had the vegetables soaking in it, it has more flavor than it would just plain water. So go ahead and use the liquid in your canned vegetables. I've also canned this little bit of carrots. I've got the little water surrounding them, so I'm just going to drop this in when this soup gets to boiling good, and it'll blend right in. I've got to clean my cutting board. Look where I sliced the carrots. I got all that good keratin all over the cutting board, but I'll clean that up. I've got a few more things to slice up. I'm going to let this beef unthaw, and I'm going to just chop it up in small pieces. I don't want as big a pieces of this meat as I do vegetables. I want bigger chunks of vegetables. But I like the flavor and the protein, the nutrition that comes from this small amount of meat. I'm going to add some of these sweet green peas. That's one of my favorite vegetables. I love green peas. I love to make a pea salad, and I just love to eat these green peas in a variety of ways. So they'll make a good addition to my soup. I'm just going to put a fairly good amount in there, maybe about a half a pound of green peas. When I went outside in the freezer to get the green peas, I found turkey bits for soup that I had up underneath it. And it's quite a bit here. And I think I'm going to add both of these meats. I'm going to add the turkey and the beef. And that'll be perfectly okay for me. I love to mix meats and things together. I'm not really funny about that. Some people have to have all beef vegetable, or some people have to have all one thing, but I like a mixture. So I'm going to go ahead and use that turkey bits that I saved and put in the freezer for soup. I'm going to go ahead and add them to my soup today. And I'm glad that I put the peas and the turkey bits together, because when I was storing them, I must have thought, well, if I make soup, I usually use peas in my chicken noodle and my turkey soup. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just put these together, and it paid off here in the long run. In the future, when I'm cleaning out looking for things to go in my soup here, I see that I had two things that I like together, and it allowed me to go ahead and use up one other thing that I had there in my freezer. So I'm glad that I found those, and I can add them to my soup. It'll be extra meaty, be really delicious. And I'm going to wait for all this to come together here, and I'll have it for lunch and for supper. And you know, when I put it in the refrigerator tonight, all these flavors will meld together, and it'll be even better to me the next day than it is the actual day that I cook it. I love when dishes like soups, chili beans, and things like that have the opportunity for all their vegetables and meats and seasonings, all the flavors to meld together. I just love the taste, and you know, the texture a soup gets really thick whenever it's another day older. I just love that. So That's my plans for this soup. We'll be eating on this for a couple of days, and it'll be a lot of good meals, good healthy meals. Well, the soup is done. It's looking delicious. It looks really good. I ended up just adding the turkey and not the beef. I thought, well, let me just save that beef for another day. Maybe I'll make some beans and put that in it. Make some chili with that. So just got the turkey in here with all the vegetables. Ladling it in my bowl. Ready to enjoy that today. And that's the spring soup. Because even though it's spring, it's cold outside. And this soup will be delicious. Thank you for joining me. Let me share my soup with recipe and my soup method with you today. Thank you for joining me. And like always, until next time.